Bandeliga hola boo. Do you know what I like more than anything else about Britain? And that is our multicultural society. The people who have visited this country and chosen to stay, who've come from far-flung parts and brought with them not only their wisdom but their good grace. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Although I would point out one thing. I would point out one small thing. And that is that whilst 99 out of 100 people who have chosen to come and live in Britain from other parts of the world don't bring it up, about 1 in 100 people who have chosen to come and live in Britain from other parts do bring this up. They point out that my country, exploited their country a long time ago. And it's a conversation that's perfectly well worth having, and I quite enjoy having it. Why? Why? Because I've always got an answer for that. And some people who have come to this country, for example, from the subcontinent, some people who have visited this country and stayed, for example, who've come from the Caribbean or from certain African countries. Some of those people would like to remind me and the British people generally that they have suffered under the rule of the English, that their forebears, their forefathers, weren't able to behave as they wanted to, weren't able to enjoy their lives as they would have liked to have done, because they were oppressed by the yoke of English rule. Now, excuse me. Very rarely do I have to have the conversation, but when I do have the conversation, I always have the reply which ends the conversation, and away they go, not with a flea in their ear, but with a new thought to play with. And there's no more generous gift than giving someone a new perspective, a new thought. And it's this. I know what happened under English rule in India, in what we now call Pakistan and Bangladesh, and across Asia, and in parts of Africa, and in parts of the Caribbean, and when America was British. And I know that not everybody was treated fairly and squarely. How do I know that? How do I know that the English ruling classes suppressed and exploited people in those other countries? Because nobody, but nobody, has suffered under the hands of the English ruling classes, and I include in this the Scots, the Welsh, and the Irish. Nobody has suffered at the hands of the English ruling classes more than the English. It's a fact. It's a fact. There's nothing anybody from any other country, whether it's just over the border or round the other side of the globe, absolutely nothing anybody can tell me, my family, my family's families, the friends of my families, the working people that I know and love and grew up with and have heard stories about down the years. There's nothing you can tell us about what it's like to be ruled by the English, because we've always been ruled by the English. And we know what they're like. And we know what they're like when they're at their worst. The number is free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There is a good argument for listening.
Another look at the twisting maggots in the deepest recesses of the human soul. Oh, man! On the Tommy Boyd Show.
Yeah, we weren't referring to you, Robert. Robert calls from Haywards Heath. Good afternoon.
Yes, it's about this political correctness that's dominating the media. Now, you just mentioned about the way the British exploited people in the colonies, but you should point out that those people exploited each other far worse. Before the British went to Africa, the Africans were killing each other much worse than they still are today. So why should Britain get the blame for everything? I mean, the Mughal emperors suppressed the Hindus in India for centuries before the British ever set foot there, and I could go on, you know. Why do people always have to take the politically correct line that it was the white Europeans that caused all the suffering? People have been killing each other all over the world for thousands of years, you know, the Greeks and the Persians and, you know, the Romans. So, you know, should Italy apologise for the Roman Empire? You know, should the Turks apologise for the Ottoman Empire? You know, how far back do we go?
Hello?
You know?
Do you have any conversational skills?
Well, I've just put a few points. Could you reply to them? That's the way Talk Radio works, isn't it?
No, it doesn't. This is my show.
Well, could you tell me, sir?
I don't necessarily care what you think.
Well, I mean, I've just put a few points to you. Could you reply to them in an intelligent way?
Not really, because
Because you got no answer, that's
no,
why.
are you a racist?
Pardon?
Are you a racist?
If you can define racism, sir, I tell you if it is applicable to me.
Yes.
Can you define racism? Go on.
Certainly.
Define it.
Stop badgering me.
Define it, please, sir. I implore you.
Ask me really nicely.
I beseech you, sir, to define the word racism.
Beg.
I beg you, sir. I plead, implore.
Grovel.
Well, I'm grovelling, sir.
Yeah,
Could you
really,
define the word racism for me, and then I will tell you if it is applicable to me.
Yes, it's simply people who think that people who are of different races are different.
Well, they are different, that's a fact.
So you are a racist?
Well, the English are different from the Germans, the English are different from the French.
So you are a racist?
Well, if you want to be ludicrous and say racism is thinking races are different, races are different, that's obvious.
You are a racist?
Well, if that's what being a racist is, I plead guilty, yes. I mean, we're all racists then because races are different, that's a fact. We have different mentalities. The English are different from the French, the English are different from the Germans, the Turkish, the Russians, and, you know, people from all over the world.
In what way are the English different from the Turks?
Well, the Turks have a sort of Islamic culture and a different mentality. The English are different from the Greeks, from the Swedish. I mean, look, humanity is divided into different races. The British are one subdivision of humanity. People that have different mentalities, different cultures, so we're different. And merely pointing out those differences does not make one a racist.
If I met a Turk, would I prefer him to you?
It depends if he was a nice Turk. I know a lot of Turkish blokes who are quite friendly, and I prefer them to English, actually.
Are you English?
Well, no, I'm partly Jewish and part Polish and part Irish.
So what are you then?
I'm a mixture of the three aforementioned.
So what race are you then?
Well, I'm a sort of European, aren't I?
A sort of European?
Judeo-European. How would you define me? I don't know.
I don't know.
But I'd say I had a Jewish mentality.
Do I need to define you?
Not really.
No,
not
really.
Unless it's a legal matter.
Can't I just think of you as Robert?
Pardon? Yeah, if you want.
So why do we have to think of a Turk as a Turk, but you get away with being Robert?
Well, if he speaks Turkish and he's proud of his culture, he wants people to recognise him as that. The Greeks too. The Greeks.
How do you know that?
Because I grew up in London. I know every nationality under the sun, and I tell you what, I prefer to live next door to a Greek or a Turk than to an English drunk, because Turks don't tend not to get drunk and cause trouble. They tend to be quite friendly and hospitable. They make nice food. Same with the Greeks. I prefer a lot of people to the English.
You're very het up, aren't you? How old are you?
Pardon?
I said you're very het up.
Well, if we're against racism, we've got to be against ageism too, so my age isn't really relevant, is it, you know?
Well, I'm just having a chat with you. Can you have conversations?
Of course, yeah.
Well, how old are you?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm in my 30s.
Well, how old are you?
32, if it matters.
Well, what matters is that you were worried about answering that. Why?
Well, I just thought, why is it relevant? You wouldn't ask me if I was gay or straight, would you? Because that's not relevant. So what's the age got to do with it, you know?
I'm just making conversation.
Okay, I thought we were talking about racism, then we go on to age, you know? Digressing a bit, aren't we?
No, it's just an observation which I was going to make.
Okay, well, what I'm saying to you is...
But you're obviously not interested.
Yeah, I'm just saying that just because a British person has a view about another race...
I might have a perception that's of value to you, but you're not interested, are you?
I am, I'm interested, yes.
Is there anything you don't want to know?
About what?
Oh, exactly.
Pardon?
I mean, do you want to know anything else? Or do you know enough now?
About what?
Everything.
Well, the man who knows everything is not on this earth. He'd be the Encyclopedia Britannica, wouldn't he?
No argument there, but I prefer people who are looking forward to the next thing they're going to find out, rather than people who think that they now know...
Well, no, there's a lot of things I have to learn.
Robert, yeah, like one of them's having a conversation.
Yeah.
Shall I tell you how it happens?
Well, you asked me if I was a racist, and I gave you a good answer, and you got no reply to it, so you're going off the subject. That's what's happening, isn't it?
Listening. Listening.
Well, I noticed you didn't come back on that, did I? You said, are you a racist? Then I said, define it. You did define it, and I said, well, if that's the criterion you're using...
What are you hoping is going to be the outcome of your call?
Well, I mean, I'm just helping to keep talk radio going, aren't I, by providing the customers. Like supermarkets need customers, and so does your show need them. Isn't that what it's all about?
My show needs callers... I'm going to have to tell you something here.
Yeah?
My show needs callers that listeners laugh at.
Yeah, well, if I'm amusing, then I've brought some joy into the dull lives of the listeners then, haven't I? Therefore,
no.
I'm quite pleased.
No, the joy that you would bring would be if we laughed with you.
Yeah, well, I don't know who's laughing. I mean, you don't know what the listeners are thinking or feeling.
Oh, I do. That's why. Yes, that's why I'm here.
You must be telepathic.
No, I'm just good at that sort of thing.
Well, what about going back to what you said? You asked me if I was a racist. I think I gave you a good reply.
No, you didn't. What I want to to put to you is this, that I made a point at the beginning of this programme, which I, in my vanity, considered to be an original point on this issue, and
What was that?
Were you
Remind me, sir.
Were you listening?
I was listening, but I mean, I haven't
notice.
I've not got a computer in my brain. I've got a
what you've
human brain.
not got, pal, is any listening skills, and that's why you're a racist, self-confessed. It's as simple as that, I think. Well, it's not, actually, but it's a good way of ending the call, isn't it? Free call 0500 10 53 89. All is well, then? On the good ship Humanity? They're still out there. There's still work to be done. Kay calls from London. Kay, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Yeah, hello. Good afternoon, Tommy Boyds.
Kay.
How are you today?
I'm still well. Thank you for asking.
Yes, I'm calling you regarding the first point you made. Saying that only the English have suffered under the English. Why did you say that?
Well, because most people think that the ordinary English people were somehow responsible for the excesses of the British Empire.
Do you think so? Don't you think so?
No.
So how come you have a queen who happens to be the Queen of England but the Queen of Britain at the same time?
Yeah, you're not going to be very much good at this, are you, Kay?
Sorry?
You're not going to be very much good at this sort of conversation, are you?
But as the conversation goes on, we could progress.
I don't know, really, because your point's a bit sort of off the beam, isn't it, really? Where are you from?
Myself, I'm from Nigeria.
You're from Nigeria.
And you exploited my country very much.
No,
you still exploit my country.
No, go away. Don't be so stupid. I didn't.
Do you mind not being abusive?
Well, don't be stupid then. Come on, get a brain. Come on, I didn't.
You didn't get a brain.
You said I did.
You're so arrogant. You know that. You're extremely arrogant.
Yes, I am, but I've got a lot to be arrogant about.
Why should you be arrogant?
Because I'm cleverer than you.
Cleverer than me? What degrees do you hold?
I'm here to tell you things.
You know one thing I've noticed about you, Tommy Boyd?
Yes.
There is no skill that has been mentioned that you do not have a clue about. You always say you've been this, you're a soldier, you're a policeman, you're a fireman, you're an accountant.
I've been
You know
busy.
what you are?
Yes.
You're an absolute fool, because if you're not a fool, you would not think you're intelligent. An intelligent person would never say to another person that he is intelligent. You understand? It is me who would tell you if you're intelligent.
Yeah, well, what I'm here to tell you, what I want to do is shake you up a little bit, because I want you to think very carefully about the point I'm making, because it is new.
Make the point quickly.
I've made it twice, but you haven't heard it either time.
What is the point you made? That I'm stupid?
No.
Is that the point you made?
Well, that's true.
What was the point you made?
The point I've made is that
you're an arrogant person, yes?
Yes, I'm arrogant, yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'm listening to you. Go on.
The point I've made is the point that you didn't really get the first time.
Say the point again.
Well, you know what the point is.
What is the point?
Exactly.
Say it.
You know what the point is.
You know what you always do?
Yeah?
You always try to use words. Whenever you're being caught or whenever you're being cornered, you use words.
On Talk Radio, my Magnum 44? I can't. You're not within range. I'm telling you,
within
pal.
range of words.
Yes, you are. I'll say it again. It's a simple point. A number of people who have chosen to visit this country and make it their home for whatever reason, and by God, they're doing this country good, and it's fantastic that they are here. But they are folk who arrives, wants to make us remember that somehow the English exploited their country. Well, some English people did, but they were the English ruling classes. They were the English aristocracy, a Masonic family of folk who have ruled us for a good 1,000 years. So you think you had it bad under them, but at least you only had them for 100 or so years. We've had them since time began, and we know what it's like, because it was our grandparents who were sent into the mud of Flanders to die, and it was our great-grandparents who were sent down the coal mines to die and scrape their living, and our great-great-grandparents' children who died in the fields and worked in the factories at 12 and were hanged at 11 for stealing a pocket handkerchief. So we know what it's like. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to tell us what it's like to be ruled by the English, because we know more about it than anybody else. A free call, 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening. I'll tell you what, that was cracking stuff. The number is free call, 0500 10 53 89. Between now and 4:45, we're just musing on the fact that one or two people who come to this country, this great country of Britain, from around the world, feel it might be worth reminding us that their country was once visited by the British under unfortunate circumstances, and they like to tell us just what it's like to be ruled by the English. And I think it's important to remind them that we know, because we've been ruled by the English for a darn sight longer, and we know what a mixed blessing that can be. Mark calls from London. You're on Talk Radio. Mark, hello.
Tommy.
Afternoon.
Reluctant Sailors, press ganging.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know my history that well, but I do know that they used to send out gangs to look for sailors and press gang them into going on, I suppose, crusades around the world, and the things to do with slaves and stuff. And so even the sailors who done this in the name of king and country or queen and country were reluctant.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think you mentioned the First World War as well. I mean, the trenches, and just to gain maybe 50 metres, 100 metres of land, losing hundreds of soldiers at one time.
Yeah.
I mean, I've actually had this argument so many times with friends of mine who have got parents from different countries who are brought up here like me.
Yeah.
And I've had this argument with them before when they've gone on about how bad the English are and all the rest of it. And it always gets their back up. You actually said that gives them something to think about, but they always get defensive and always get really angry about it, because they think I'm coming from a racist standpoint when I'm not. I'm just trying to say to them that the common Englishman or woman has suffered under the hands of the English.
Absolutely.
Not so much now, but maybe in years gone by.
There's nothing anybody can tell us Englishmen about what it's like to be ruled by the English, because we always have been.
That's right. I mean, and this is coming from someone I was born in London, of a Welsh father and Irish mum, but I actually do see myself as an Englishman, as a Londoner. And, I think sometimes English is just too tolerant.
Mark, thanks for your call. Paula is next in Lincoln. You're on Talk Radio. Paula.
Hi. Hi there. I just wanted to say that I think your point is correct, actually, because the British did go out, the English did go out and colonise these places, and then proceeded to segregate themselves through organisations such as the club and various other elitist organisations where they wouldn't let anybody else into, which does kind of ring a bell, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, they've been doing that over here for generations. They've been telling us that we can't get into this, we can't get into that club because we're not doing this, we're not wearing a tie, we're not doing whatever. So I don't really see how anybody can argue with that. But I think it's important for people to remember that we are actually learning about it. We're not leaving it at that. People don't need to feel that we've forgotten about what we did out there, because I'm in the middle of a course at Lincoln Uni at the moment, which is a great proportion of which is about post-colonialism. And they are teaching us exactly what happened out there, trying to let us know how people suffered under it, and trying to educate us about it so that we can talk, reasonably on it.
The difference is, of course, we
don't.
No.
No, and perhaps never will. I don't know. I don't know. They're not teaching us about that. They're not giving us any hope.
I know. We have our revolutions gradually, don't we?
Very, very slowly.
Thanks for your call.
Okay, no problem.
Bye now. Jim is on the line from Glasgow. Jim, welcome to Talk Radio. Hello.
Hello, how you doing, mate?
Jim, good, you?
I think it's just laughable, what you're saying about the English are suffering most. And it really is. I mean, it's pathetic, really. I mean, the Scots, the English...
It's upsetting, isn't it, if you like to believe that you've been exploited, because there's something...
Hold it.
Rather vainglorious about that.
Which part of the English identity have you had stripped away for you?
Tell me something...
Would you answer that question? It's a simple question.
Sorry?
I'm asking, it's a simple question. Yeah? Which part of the English identity has been stripped away? You can't answer it, can you?
Well, I don't...
You can't answer that question, can you? I knew you couldn't answer it.
No, just hang on for a second.
Right, okay.
What I'm actually doing is trying to work out how to explain something to somebody like you.
Oh, like me?
Yeah, died in the war.
Oh, right, okay. Go for it.
Yeah, you see, the point is this, that I'm not English in the sense that you think, and nor is anybody in England, apart from a tiny elite. They're English. Yeah, and I don't like them much more than you don't like them. Okay?
One of my best friends
I hate the English much more than you do.
One of my best friends is English.
Yeah, well, that's neither here nor there.
Right.
Do you understand? We're in this together, pal. This is my point. Except there is a piece of one-upmanship here, which is that my family have been hating the English longer than yours.
All right.
Yeah.
And they're from where?
From England.
From England?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. You see? I mean, how long have the Scots been ruled by the English?
Let me see. 13... Kicking the ass half 1,000 years, something like that.
Nothing. That's nothing. See, we've put up with it since history began. See?
Right.
So we've had it worse than you, haven't we?
But since then, the Scots have had a hell of a lot worse than done to them.
Do you see my point?
The Scots have had their language taken away from them. Correct? Yes?
Yeah, but, Jim...
The Scots have had their language taken away from them.
Jim, the ignominies and the suffering that I'm talking about has got nothing to do with the choice of language. I'm talking about...
But it all goes hand in hand.
No, it doesn't.
When the Highland clearances and the banning of the kilt and the banning of the songs, it all goes hand in hand.
Look, Jim, I'm talking about real suffering, not the loss of a language.
Oh, real suffering?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. You know what real suffering is, and it's got nothing to do with the loss of a language, has it, Jim? You can't eat your words, although if I had time I could make you.
Well,
you hear what I'm saying?
Go for it. It's your show.
Yes,
yes. Meet my love.
No, I was just hoping somebody would ring up from Scotland and run that old bit of washing up the line again, and you did. So thanks.
All right.
Just so we remember.
That's not an answer. You haven't got an answer. You know you haven't.
Some people do.
You haven't given me an answer. You haven't got an answer for it.
Some people have the only identity some people have is their prejudice, Jim.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to
and
have
that's the reason why we're prejudiced, because
but
England have took Scotland's full culture away from them.
No, be clear.
You
Come
know
on,
it.
be
I know
clear.
it.
Be clear. The English ruling classes did that.
Well, it's England, isn't it?
No,
Is that not England?
no. We've been fighting them for longer than you.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
And you'll get your own...
many an uprising in England.
Yeah. But we can't get rid of them. See, my grief, beef with them goes back a lot longer than yours.
No.
Feel for me, Jim.
No, I can't.
Feel for me. Feel for us English. Feel for us poor, downtrodden English.
There is one thing true.
Yeah?
The further south you get, the worse they get. That is true. I mean, a lot of people from England have even told me that. The likes of people from Newcastle and Liverpool.
Well, you wouldn't know, would you?
I would know. I know a lot of people.
Yeah, but you wouldn't actually know, would you? I mean, there is something in what you say. I think you nearly got it, you know. That's good. You know, one person goes up one notch on the IQ meter. That's grand. I think he really did, though. He'd rather believe that the Scots are the ones who've been downtrodden the most at the hands of the English. Not the English. But, of course, it is the English. Sean in Felixstowe.
Tommy.
Welcome to Talk Radio.
The poor, the rich man...
Yes.
...causes the wars.
Yes.
The poor man has to die for them.
Yes.
It's happened ever since history's began.
Yeah. Poor us.
I know.
Poor us, eh?
The guy that just spoke, I mean,
I know.
you know, we've got to concentrate on what, you know, the English have had to suffer under the English rule,
Exactly.
like you're saying.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, I can understand him being a bit upset about it, but, you know, they're going to get their own parliament. They're going to probably get their own country back. We're still here.
Can you imagine what that must have been like for all those English soldiers who went up to fight in Scotland? They'd be marching up the road, wouldn't they? Going, oh, look at the heather. And they'd be going, just remind me again, Alf, why are we here exactly? Well, because, you know, we've been told to go and die for England, or by the English ruling classes, because they want Scotland.
Right.
And then, of course, the Scots. I mean, what more glorious end is there than to die because you choose to die to try and save your country and your race, you know? But it was never like that for any of the English. When did the English ever fight a war like that? We've never had to actually try to kick anybody out, except, of course, the English ruling classes. And
well, that's it. I mean, you know, you get this creeping in as well, even today, with some of the, you know, the lords and that are still there that, you know, look down on the, you know, the regular person. You know, it gets a bit old after a while. But, you know, I mean, if I lived in Africa and I was an African, I mean, once the English have done their bit and they've left, that's fair enough. But, you know, we still have to listen to this.
Sean, thanks for your call. To Peter, who calls from London. Peter, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Hi, Tommy. I think you've been a bit underhanded with this one here. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
I think the English people, though they were oppressed in a sense by the ruling class here, ultimately benefited economically and politically through the same, you know, from the ruling class. They've gained economically over the years, which a lot of people haven't done from other countries. Do you get my point?
Yeah, it's a good try, isn't it? But I don't know. I can't really swallow it.
Why not?
Well, I mean, I don't know how well up you are in your social history, or whether you're just using your own kind of perception of what things must have been like 20 years ago. But if you do read your social history, I don't think you'll find that the material benefits of being an ordinary working class Englishman.
No, but they're sharing in the benefits of
50
what
years
the ruling
ago.
class
I mean, what were they? What were the material benefits? What kind of opulence and luxury attended the average Englishman 50 years ago?
50 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh, we're talking about a lot longer than that.
All right, well, 100 years ago then. It must have been even worse then.
Yeah, but I said ultimately the British and English people have benefited. Now, at the current point in time, they're benefiting from what England has done in the past.
Mm. Yeah, that we could kick that one around for quite a long while, and I think if you look at other countries that haven't visited Africa and the subcontinent, for example, and benefited from that rule, such as, say, for example, France or Germany, whose empire is nowhere near as big as us, you would be able to argue that whatever material wealth the average English man or woman has in this country at the moment, all right, probably does not derive from the colonial activities.
Partly it did. It set up this country.
Then why aren't we streets ahead of Germany then, who never had an empire?
Because they're harder workers than we are.
Oh, go away. That's a bit... That's terrible, isn't it? Isn't that feeble? They are very efficient also.
Okay, it's a bit feeble, but
yeah, it was,
I think that's... I understand what you're saying, but I think
like
the only
because
difference
at least you're prepared to admit you're feeble.
Well, maybe so.
Odie-dodie. Jack calls from Highgate. You get the last word on this one for today. Jack, you're on Talk Radio.
I wonder if British rule abroad was so bad, because there's no real acrimony between the British and the Indians now, or between the British and anyone very much. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. True. The only acrimony really seems to come from Scotland.
Between the English and the Scots.
And the Welsh sometimes.
But, well...
The Irish will throw in their £2 for two.
Yeah.
Give them half a chance.
But in times of hardship, it's always the English, the Irish, the Scotch and the Welsh that all get together, and they were all in there. They were all fighting with Wellington, and so they rallied together when they.
Well, I don't think they wanted to. I shouldn't think there was anybody at Waterloo who wanted to be there, apart from Wellington himself, and he was way back from the actual fighting, wasn't he? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, thanks for your call.
All right.
Free call 0500 10 53 89. It's a Friday. With DHL, let's celebrate pedestrians.
DHL Worldwide Express. We keep your promises.
When I say let's celebrate pedestrians, I mean what I say, because 99.9% of people, when they're on the pavement or stepping off the pavement, of course this is when it affects motorists, get it right. But it's the odd one, isn't it? It's the odd one. It's the odd one who doesn't get it right. The odd one who pushes her pushchair with the child in the pushchair out into the road from between two parked cars without actually checking who's coming along, whether it's a bicycle or something more dangerous. Or the person who sees that there's a bus coming the other way and they want to be on it, and so they'd better just nip across the road, and they don't look both ways, and you hear a squeal of brakes. It's them. It's them we need to think about. It's them we need to get constructive about. Do you not agree with me that the time has come for us to consider some sort of legislation against what in America they call jaywalking? And you can be issued a ticket in the United States, in parts of the United States, if you cross the road other than at a designated spot. Free call 0500 10 53 89. There would be a hue and cry. There would be outcry from people who believe that it is our right. It is a civil liberty to be able to cross the road as and when they wish. But nobody argues when those railings go up around traffic lights to make sure that people are funneled, pedestrians are channeled to cross the road at the safest possible point, which is after the traffic lights have stopped. Free call 0500 10 53 89. It seems to me that the roads would be a safer place not only for people on foot who want to cross the roads, but also for us when we are driving. If you're driving along at the moment and you're driving through a populated area, just concentrate on what you're doing and notice this, I suspect, about yourself, that you are watching the car in front, you are checking where the curb is and the white line is and making sure that you're about in the middle of those two things, yes. And you are making sure that you're starting. And although thankfully we don't get too many accidents involving pedestrians who step out onto the road, I do wonder how many shunts and prangs are caused because drivers are paying attention to what's happening on the pavement, at least partially, and not giving their whole gift to what's going on the road. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Maybe we need railings everywhere. Maybe we need it to be law that you shall only cross the road over a bridge, through a subway, at a pelican crossing, or at traffic lights, at a designated spot. And maybe we could increase the authority of traffic wardens so that they handle and give tickets, not just to four-wheel and two-wheel traffic, but two-legged traffic. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Pedestrians. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for living.
Across the world, every day, DHL Worldwide. Signed...
Stephen calls from Perth. Stephen, you're on Talk Radio. Hello.
Hi.
Stephen.
Well, I was wanting to say, I think there should be certain places that you have to cross because it prevents more accidents.
It certainly would. How's the traffic in Perth?
Pardon?
How's the traffic in Perth?
Well, there's quite a lot of traffic in Perth, and there can be quite a lot of accidents in Perth. And I think it'd be better if you could cross over bridges and make it a lot more safer.
The trouble is that with the idea of jaywalking penalties, is that a lot of people who do tend to dash out into the road and would pick up a penalty are younger people, and you see, if you ever lost your concentration, you'd find it very hard to pay a 20 quid fine, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be fair, would it?
No.
Because your parents would have to pay.
I know.
On the other hand, that's better than you ending up under a truck, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for your call.
Okay.
Free call 0500 10 53 89. Ave calls from London. Ave, good afternoon.
Abe.
Ade, I beg your pardon.
Hi, Tommy.
Hi.
Tommy, I completely agree with you because sometimes pedestrians don't think of the danger that they can put themselves in as well as the driver. The driver's having to concentrate and be careful, and all of that could go down the dustbin basically if somebody just runs out into the road or walks without looking left or right. It's basically, just keeping your wits about you.
You know, the pedestrian that annoys me most is Mr. Matador. I don't know if you've seen this guy. He likes to go out halfway and then...
Go back.
No, as a car is coming towards him along the last bit of the road he's got to cross, he just takes his hips as close as he dares to that car as it goes past at 10, 20 miles an hour, whatever.
That's true.
And he does a kind of a Matador pass. Just raises his arms and goes, woof, past you go like that.
It's a great description of it. Another thing is when people go halfway, then they see they saw the car before, but they go halfway, then they see the car's too close, they think and they wait. And by that time the car has to either screech to a halt or something. They're not decisive enough. They don't say, shall I go or shall I not?
No. Do you know what I used to do, which was very stupid, and I'm ashamed that I used to do it? If I'd be stood at the curb, say, waiting for a bus, and somebody was coming along and he was clearly going too fast, I would act as though I was thinking of crossing. Are you with me?
I am.
Yeah.
I used to do things I still do, actually. I'm 19 now.
Do you?
I still do things like that. We all do. I mean, I'm a driver and I'm a pedestrian. Either way, I'm not as good as I should be. I can talk about them, but, we all have our shortcomings.
I get cross with little old ladies with shopping trolleys who go up to the Pelican, press it, and then notice that there's no traffic coming anyway, so they can cross. So they do. 20 seconds later, you've got to stop.
Yeah.
For nobody.
It's the same as drivers who think that even if you just put the indicator on to turn right or left, you don't have to look in your mirror. You put your indicator so you can do it.
Yes.
Doesn't matter if there's a car right next to you in your blind spot. Just do it. I've put my indicator so I'm okay.
It always amazes me that black cab drivers can drive, generally speaking, safely and watch the pavements, not just for jaywalkers, but for fares.
Yeah, they have their wits about them, certainly.
Yeah.
You have to think. I mean, when I drive, and this is what I've been taught, and I've taught myself this, you just keep moving your eyes everywhere and use your brain. Don't just, have a dangerous machine in front of you or walk onto the road if it's going to kill you or something.
Have you seen cyclists cycling along with a referee's whistle in their mouth in case anybody steps out into the curb?
That's a good idea. No, I haven't. That's a very good idea, actually.
That's a good idea. It annoys me a little bit.
Yeah, I cycle as well, by the way.
Oh dear, well, walk, cycle and drive safely, Ade.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your call.
Thank you very much. You're a great man. Bye-bye.
Street Beat Symphony with DHL Worldwide Express. Alfie calls from Newcastle. Alfie?
Hello?
Welcome to Talk Radio.
Right, cheers. I just wanted to say, I think cyclists and pedestrians all should be issued tickets such as like car tickets for walking too slowly and everything.
Walking too slowly on the pavement or when they cross the road?
No, when they cross the road, because does it not just get on your nerves, like?
It does.
I know, when you see all these little old ladies with trolleys and everything and just taking the time.
Some people, I think, do like to slow the traffic down. There's no doubt about it. And this shouldn't be allowed.
I know, it shouldn't. No. And also people, just kids who just hit the light just to get on your nerves and then run off.
Yes.
That happens all the time, and then you have to stop because even if nobody's crossing, you just have to stop.
It does happen.
Oh, no.
And do you know the worst thing that you can do to get your own back on pedestrians?
What?
Which you must never, ever do to your father's car.
Uh-huh.
You know the windscreen washer?
Yeah.
Well, what you should never ever do is just turn the one on nearest the pavement. You know you've got two.
No, that's fine.
What you must never do, because it's very wrong, is turn it so that it shoots out to the left.
Oh, excellent.
So that you must promise me you'll never do that.
Okay.
So that there you are going along slowly past the shopping mall and somebody, almost steps out in front of you and you give him a squirt up his nose.
Oh, great.
Never do that.
Oh, I don't know. Depends how slow they are.
I only mention it to make sure nobody ever does it.
Okay.
Bye.
Right, cheers, Tommy. Bye.
Free call 0500 10 53 89. You do tend to think of pedestrians as slightly the enemy, don't you, when you're in your car? You do have to assume the worst of them, which isn't difficult. But has the time come to introduce legislation whereby jaywalkers, as they're called in America, are penalised? Barry calls from Middlesex. You're on Talk Radio. Barry.
Hello, Tommy.
Barry.
I drive all day long. I'm just coming back from Cornwall, and I think the police ought to give these pedestrians a ticket. You're standing at the traffic lights, they're green your way, but it's a bit of a hold-up. All of a sudden you go to move off, and one of these morons runs across in front of you, and you nearly run the blighter over.
Well, you drive for a living. You know what you're talking about. Drive safely, mate.
Cheers, Tommy.
It's Street Beat Symphony with DHL Worldwide Express. Last word on this one for today to Charles in Staffordshire. Charles.
Hello there.
Sir.
How are you, Tommy, all right?
Never been better.
Right. If these people continue to break the law, which it ought to be a law, if they keep stepping off this curb into this road, what we should do is fine them, and if they continue to do it, keep them at home.
I like his style. Pedestrians, jaywalkers all. Let's get them.
DHL Worldwide Express won't let you down.
I'll talk to you on Monday at 3. Stand by for Peter Dealey.
Talk Radio Eyewitness Travel. I'm over Greater Manchester looking at the M6 southbound where you've got 3 miles of slow-moving traffic between junctions 24 and 20.
After the chippy, because I usually buy the food as well.
Right, so you get a drink bought for you and rock salmon and chips.
Yeah.
And their reward for that is a
kiss.
A kiss. And how long would a brandy and baby and rock salmon and chips buy you? How long a kiss?
About 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
5 minutes.
Seriously?
Yeah.
A single kiss of 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Right. Well, as with the previous caller, thank you so much for all the images.
It's okay.
Which all men listening to this show will run with for some weeks, I can tell you. Have a nice night on Saturday.
Yes, I will.
Bye for now.
Bye.
I know I shouldn't say it, but I hope she calls again somehow. Monday would do. Brian calls from Hounslow. Brian, we started off talking about trainers, but you know how it is with conversation. You saw where we ended up.
Yes, Tommy. Good afternoon, Tommy.
Good afternoon, Brian.
What I want to really say, Tommy, is I hope that the trainers will never go to fashion, because they're very comfortable for walking, as I have a dog and I do a lot of walking, you see. And I have a guide dog, actually, and I do an awful lot of walking, and I find them very comfortable, Tommy.
Well, you may not know this, but, Hounslow High Street is the place for shoe shops.
That's right.
These days.
That's right, Tommy, yeah.
It really is a hive of shoe shops, isn't it?
It is, yes.
3 shoe shops and then something else and then 3 shoe shops. If it's shoes you want, then Hounslow's the place.
That's right.
All right, Brian, thank you for your postscript to the conversation. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you very much, Tommy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Stand by for Ian Collins. I look forward to talking with you from 2 tomorrow. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening. We now can look forward to this story. So, Moya, you tell a good story, so take your time.
I'll do that then, Tommy.
Let's hear it.
A little lady at the checkout in Tesco and dropped her money, probably only about 35p, we're not quite sure how much. And of course people were all standing and helping her, bending down, picking up the money, and by the time it finished, by the extra money that people had started to throw down for her, she had probably quite a few pounds. I can't remember the exact figures, Tommy.
Well, the thing was about it was a truck driver who phoned in with the story.
Yes, I was crying drunk.
I know. He was a great big lug of a truck driver. He said, Tommy, I can't hang about. I've just got to tell me. He said,
wonderful,
and she was saying to everybody, oh, I hope you can find every penny. It's all I've got to last me till Tuesday.
Something of the sort.
And then when we counted all the money and put it into her hand, this is how he told the story. He went, and when they counted all the money and put it into her hand, Tommy, they had £7.50. And then he went, I'm sorry, mate, I've got to go. And I had visions of this great big coal lorry bowling down the A something or other to Doncaster with this great big lug of a bloke blubbing like a baby.
Absolutely.
It was cracking stuff.
It certainly was, Tommy.
Thanks for the memory.
Keep up the good work.
And you.
Don't forget to subscribe and like. Comment too if you wish. Even slap your legs and make a purchase from Ann Summers. But don't do nothing.